Welcome back to Open Studio. I'm Steve Leahy. How's it going? Hopefully well. It's going good here. If you remember from last week's struggle bus video, I'm in a better spot now, so it's good. I'm not saying things are going to go well. I'm just saying I'm in a better spot because I'm a little bit more awake now, which is good. Again, I usually film these a couple episodes at a time, or 3 or 4 of them at a time. So, yeah. All right, so I started the window. I'm going to leave the window because I have to cut out, the next step is to cut out the window again or find that template and then just airbrush, the fade on this. But I'm going to keep working with the paintbrush because I really want to kind of button up this wheel now. I want to get this done so we can move on. So this, again, where we left off way back when I was working on this was the bead, essentially, where the wheel meets the tire was what I was doing, and I put a big fat chunky line there, and there's not supposed to be that. So we're gonna fix that up. Oh, what I didn't get is more water for the palette. Okay, so again, last week I mentioned the wet palette here. This is awesome. I love it. It basically runs on distilled water, and I have a big gallon jugs of it, and then I transfer them into this smaller ketchup type bottle, so it's convenient. It's got the little the nozzle on the end, so I can just kind of put the water exactly where I want, which is along the edge back here. And I've run out in this one, so I gotta refill it. Why you need to know that, I don't know. That's what we do here. Give you a bunch of information and you can sort it out. I don't know. Let me make sure we're focused here. Okay. Yeah, we've moved to the jumbo close cam. I don't know. I got to throw it out there again. I've just got light gray in here. I'm just going to thin out the bead line here. I've mentioned it before in the live feeds, and it's certainly when I got this camera, I mentioned it. But there's an artist, Tom Nguyen, just an unbelievable artist. I met him, or I haven't met him physically, but I've known his work for a long time. He does a lot of comic illustration, and he is a great airbrusher. He's kind of a Renaissance guy because he's also an amazing photographer. So when I started getting into photographing my own stuff, I sent him a message and said, "Hey, I need a macro lens. He knew what I was doing, and I'm like, I just need one that's going to work really, really well for me." And he's like, "Yeah, no problem. This is the one." And he sent me the name of it. And it was a Canon, Canon lens. I ended up getting a DSLR body with it. And that's what you're looking through right now. It's just an amazing, amazing lens because you can get insanely close. And what's nice about it from a production standpoint, the camera's close right now to the surface, but it doesn't have to be with this lens. Like, I can get you guys really, really close, and that camera can be like 18 inches away from where I'm at. And that's great because it gets it away from being, right next to my head like it is now. Where a normal lens, you can zoom in, but the camera has to be really close. So again, thank you, Tom. I will put a link, or you know what I'll do? I'll flash a graphic with his info so you can find him because he's a great artist. Really nice guy too. All right, so this again is the light gray. I'm just kind of running around. I'm looking for like imperfections in the roundness of this wheel. Again, the brush, just like last week when I was doing the repairs on the other things, this brush is now dried out a little bit, but that's perfect. That's just what I want because when the paint is dry, it doesn't flow off the brush really quickly, and that's what you need for control. So when the brush has, a little bit drier paint, you have to kind of work to get that brush to put down the paint, and that's what you want. Because then things go just where you want. If the paint is really loose, and that's lovely if you want to like do a big wash, the paint just flows off the brush. In an instance like this, it's not what you need. You don't need that paint to go wherever it wants. Got to wrangle it in. All right, I'm feeling better about that. How's that looking? I I think that's as good as it's going to get. Again, last week I mentioned it. You get to the point where you just keep picking at it. You know, you keep going one way, you know, you make a minute change, and even that minute change pushes it over to the other side, and then you have to fix that minute change. So you do a minute fix on that, and then you push it over the other side again. And it's just, you feel, I feel like I'm just going back and forth and not changing anything. So that's kind of how I know when I've reached the limit of what I can do with that. So, and we are there with the front wheel. All right. Now, the question is, do we move on to the back wheel, or do I finish the window? Excuse me. I also may, you guys can't really see because I have the exposure really high so you can see all the details, but the repair I did here is pretty visible. I may end up respraying this window too at some point. Again, we are talking so minor. Like, someone would need this lighting on this painting when it's done, and is never going to get that lighting in a gallery. So you're never going to see that repair when it's in normal lighting. But I just can't put the brakes on, you know what I mean? I want, if someone walks up with a flashlight, like a high-powered flashlight on my painting in a gallery, I'm okay with that. You know, I want them to see everything, and I don't want them to, like, see a mistake. So, not on these. The back wheel's involved. So let's, since we're close on the window here, let's knock out the window. All right, so the window has only one step left, and it's a grayish blue fade over the whole thing to kind of give it that glassy look. This is a great thing. I do this a lot on car portraits, and it's one of the things that the airbrush does really, really, really well. Now, where are my cutouts? So I don't have to cut this out again. There it is. Sometimes being an artistic pack rat pays off. There's my window template from the blue, and there's the other blue. That's going to tempt me to do both. All right. Let's do it. So what's going on here is the first step to do this, and this is neat. This is really cool. So the first step is I need to kind of gray this out. Oop, you guys can't see it really. There we go. I need to kind of gray this out. I need to kind of meld all those little details together. So that's going to take a little bit of gray. So we're going to line this up. Like this. Magnet. Let's go magnet here. Yeah, magnet here. All right, let's get the gray first. So for the gray, it's really just black. Really, really, really reduced black. Why don't I have any air pressure? Okay, that was scary. I didn't have any air pressure because I was using the it's really difficult to see. I'll show you in the palette cam in a second, but it's this little air valve quick connect. I'll show you in this one. You can see it. There it is down there. So that circular dial there allows you to reduce the volume of air coming into the airbrush, which is really great. So it doesn't drop the pressure, it just drops the amount of air that's coming through there. Which is nice, because then you can do stuff like, you know, stippling, and where the airbrush just kind of spits out paint, makes a gravelly type thing. Or if, you know, you're working with like really, really, really thin paint, you can drop the air pressure, or not pressure, but you can drop the amount of air coming through instead of going down to the compressor and dropping the pressure. I feel like there's paint in this brush. Dried paint. We're going to find out. Okay. So this is opaque black and 4011 reducer, and it's mixed 1 part paint to 20 parts reducer. Mega, mega, mega reduced. And the tip of the bottle is... Come on, man. I don't need struggle bus today either. Yeah, no struggle bus today. That seems okay. All right. So first thing to do is to just gray this out. And what I want to do is I want to be careful with this because I don't want to overdo it. Just, why is that grainy? Why is that grainy? That should not be grainy. let's take a look at this. I'm going to refocus on the airbrush here for a second. Oh, you guys are so close to that thing. All right. So it's grainy, which means there's something stuck in this thing. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the nozzle. Remember a couple seconds ago I said I thought that, you know, there was still dried paint in this? That would do it, which dried paint would be inside this little nozzle here, this silver piece. And if you're not into airbrushing, this little silver cone here, that's the heart of this airbrush. That's what really determines what a brush can do, is how refined that brush is. And if you see where the little needle is sticking out there, so the way they measure them is across that opening where the needle is coming out. And if I pull the trigger back, you'll see the needle. Oop, I can't do this without pushing the trigger down. There we go, at this angle. So as I draw the needle back, it opens up that, and the paint can come out like that. I've got to get rid of that so it doesn't end up on the painting. But what's going on here is I think there's paint that's dried inside this nozzle, which will stop the needle from going forward, which will make it spray funky, and that's, I think, what's going on. The other place that it can happen too is in the little opening right there. Yeah, little opening right there, but that looks clean. I don't think there's anything going on in there. This is great. I had the macro lens. You can really see what's going on. All right, let's see if that did it. So sometimes when you just, I don't know if you saw me do it, but all I did was just kind of take my fingers and, you know, clean off the end of the nozzle just in case there's anything there. I'm going to spray this on the template. See what it looks like. Yep, and that was it. So now when I opened that up and showed you, you couldn't see anything, right? I mean, it didn't look like anything was there, right? With this brush and this setup, it's the tiniest little like chunk of whatever it is enough to throw this brush off. You know what I mean? So it's funny when people get these brushes and they're not quite familiar with how they work, and they're like, oh yeah, it doesn't really spray that great, or it's whatever. It's like owning a supercar, you know. The finest adjustment will make the biggest difference in it, and you have to be super like almost anal about the way the brush is working, because that's what it does. I mean, it works like no other brush, but you have to really work to keep that, you know. And I say that, but it's also a workhorse, you know. I mean, you have to do a lot to screw it up. So, all right. So what I'm going to do, I know the magnet's kind of in the way, but bear with me for a second. So all I'm doing is put a very, very light gray pass over it. And I'm stopping and leaning back and take a look at it. The other thing I want to do is I want to fade the bottom of the dashboard, like get that a little bit darker, like that. That looks good. All right, now this is good. This is real good, because I can respray the back window and do the next step on this all at the same time. So that worked out well. So what I need for that is I need a really pale blue. So I'll grab the other brush, the Micron C, for that. Get some white in here. So for the mix here, I'll do this over here because I need to concentrate on it. I'll do it over here so you can see it. So I've got a few drops of white, which is already reduced. It's 1 part paint to 1 part reducer. But then I'm going to add a little bit more reducer to it, and I'm going to add a little bit of 40-50, and that's what this is. It's 1 part 40-50 and 5 parts reducer. So I'm just going to reduce this down to make a really thin white, and it's about 8 to 10 drops of that in there versus about 3 drops of paint, 2 to 3 drops of paint. And then I'm just going to take a touch of this blue. Just basically stain the brush with the blue. And then I'm going to mix that blue in here. You guys, it's going to be blurry, but you know, hopefully you'll kind of see what I'm doing. Yeah. A little more blue? Yeah, a little more blue. Let's use, I think that's, yeah, that's the one I wanted, but that's okay. And for this, it's not going to matter. You know what, I talk about, you know, you see in like an artist, oil painter's palette, how it's all beautiful and set up like a rainbow or whatever. Their colors are all in the same spot always. Mine's not like that, except for black and white. Black Black is usually here, white's over here. And then all the other colors just kind of go wherever. What I really need to do is I need to commit to, like, since phthalo blue and cobalt blue look similar on the palette, I really need to say, okay, this is cobalt, this is phthalo, and keep them there so I never have to. Because what I have to do is pull the paint out so I can see if one's green or one's bluish, and that's how I know. But you know, that's kind of dumb. So anyway, all right, so I've got this really thin, transparent, pale blue now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing that I just did with the black. I'm going to go over this whole thing and just kind of put that sky reflection in the window. Now, I do them in this order because I'm building up. Like, all the stuff that's inside the car or in front of the car has already been done. So this is the last kind of sheen that ties everything together. So I want to be really careful here, because if I overdo it, you know, like that's right there is probably a little too much, but it's fine. It's going to be great. But it's super easy to just blow it out and then have to start all over again. So I don't want to do that. All right, so let's make sure this is lined up. So we're going to fix this window too. All right, so I've got this blue fade on here, which is, you know, it's got to be dealt with. The other thing too now, with this repair, this white in here is really, really too thin for this, so I got to be really careful. I got to be slow building it up. I'm going to start from the left-hand side and move to the right to try to save as much of this fade as I can. I should have had a magnet up there. We may have a problem up there. Oh well. Okay, that's good. Yeah. I was just gonna dump that out, but I'm gonna save that in case I need to fix that again. So I'm gonna take the black out of the other brush and put. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put a little bit of transparent blue in here to get the fade fixed from the right-hand side. See what I mean? So that's all. This is going to be done in about 15 seconds. So it's not a big deal to do, you know, the respray on that back window. And again, it all boils down to, you know, doing the right thing for me. You know, it's like, don't be lazy. You know, if it's going to take an extra step to get it right, even though it's nearly impossible to see. Oh, I am right out. Interesting. Even though it's nearly impossible to see, you know, I'll know that it's there, and every time I look at it, I'll be like, yeah, there's that thing you didn't fix. So I don't want that. There are times for that, you know. Like I said, with the wheel, there are times where you just, you know, you're doing all these things and they're not making any difference. You know, they're really not making an impact on the painting, and then you can say, okay, I'm done, that kind of thing. But leaving something is just not cool for me on this stuff. So I've got the cobalt blue in here. It's got that super reduction with that 4050 and 4011, and I'm just going to kind of replace that blue fade that was on this side now. Excellent. And now I don't have to worry about this anymore unless I damage it again, which is always possible. So there you go. So see, that's what you got on the window. Now you can see the car through it. You can see the dashboard, but it looks like that, you know, the white reflection is kind of all over it, which is lovely. And it might be out of focus. I know, I'm banging the camera. I have tried the autofocus on this scale, but it's not fair to the camera. Yeah, that's what that front window looks like. So the last step on the passenger window here are the, you know, the gaskets and stuff. So around the outside. We'll get this gray going again. How was your week? Was it good? It's well, it's only Wednesday, so hopefully it's going good. It is the end of March here when I recorded this, and some fun things are coming up hopefully for me. I've entered a bunch of pieces in the mid-year exhibit at the Butler Institute of Art here in Youngstown, which is a huge national show, which is great. So fingers crossed that I'm going to get in there. I was fortunate to get in last year, which was nice. So we're going to hopefully keep the trend going. And also down in Cincinnati, there is a miniature show, like at one of the galleries, and it's all art under 7 inches in any direction. And that's right on my speed, so I entered that too. So I got my fingers crossed for that. It's a great gallery down in Cincinnati. It's called Manifest. All right, so there's the gaskets around the window. Subtle, but there. Actually, there's a really thin line underneath that lower gasket, so we're going to put that in. I should have done this first, but we'll see what it comes out like. Good. Sometimes it works. 8 minutes. Okay. Well, I guess we can just start the wheel. So we've just hit a cool point in this painting. All right. So the cool point in this painting is there's a moment where, like, the painting goes from, like, I'm looking at it thinking it's going to take me forever. You know, I've got so much more to do on this. And then it switches. There's like a hinge or a teeter-totter moment where I finish something and sit back and go and just say, hey, wait, this is almost done. We are at that point, believe it or not. When the wheel is done, we have some minor details to kind of put in, you know, like the door handle and the logo and cleaning up some stuff like this body line here and junk like that. But the wheel is the only major part left of this painting, which is really exciting. Now that I talked about this a couple episodes ago, normally at this point I'm already working on the frame, and I am not. So we may end this out with, you know, the painting being completely done and we just work on the frame. So it's going to be like a non-painting open studio, which is going to be interesting. You have to watch me do. I may put up a poll while I'm preparing for this. Because here's the thing, the idea for Open Studio was that, you know, you see everything right from the beginning to end. Do you really want to watch me sand frame pieces? It's not exciting. I may edit that part of it, since the spirit is the painting, not the, I mean, I'll definitely give you all the details about the framing. But some of that, like I said, just, it's not fun to watch. It's not fun to do either. All right, let's start working on the wheel. I know we only have about, you know, 5 or 6 minutes left, but it's got to be done. We got to figure it out, so let's do it. I need a new copy for this. It's so funny. I did all the darker copies, these here, and I used so few of them. I just ended up using the lighter, more exposed copy just because you can see more. So I do that all the time. You know, with these copies, I usually have a couple different exposures to show me different things, you know. But it's funny to me how sometimes I use one more than another, and it's certainly that in this case. So let's grab something for the wheel. Let's see what we can do here in the last 5 minutes. What do I need? What do I need? I need my cutting mat. So I'm going to move this aside, and I'm going to put this here. I got to get a new one of these mats. These cutting mats are great. They're from Art Tool. And that's our tool. Actually, I'll do it over here where you can actually see it. It looks like this. And you can see it's translucent. You can see I've cut all over this thing. And what happens is they dry out, is the best way to describe it. When you get them, and I use the the gray ones because this one's a little bit softer than some of the other ones. You see the green ones, the textile ones at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or whatever. And they're great for cutting, you know, like heavy duty cutting. They're harder. They just resist the cut. But with this, with the finesse, I need something softer, and this gray mat is great for that. All right. Holy crap, how do I do this? All right. I think the best thing to do is to reclaim. See how, again, you have the shadow here? Like on the wheel, the inside edge of the rim. We're going to get rid of some of that, so I need to figure out where that is. So let's do a little bit of drawing on this so I can mess around and see what I can come up with. So I got to reclaim some of this, so I got to figure out where that rim is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the same treatment we did on the front wheel. So it's going to go, I don't know if I want to do that though, because I had such a shucky time with that. Yeah, let's cut it all out and then we'll figure it out after. So just kind of sketch this in, or adjust it as needed until it looks pretty much right, which it does. Okay, and then we'll reclaim this part here. Yeah, you guys can see it. There we go. And again, with, you know, any of these little mini cutouts, I mean, there's only so much you can do. You know, it's like the knife is great. It's super sharp. The mat's great. The paper is great. Everything's great. But sometimes, you know, there's limitations, and the cut doesn't come out totally perfect, and that's fine. You know, that's what the paintbrush is for, or, you know, adjustments later on. So I try to get as close as I possibly can and then fix it after the fact. So a good way to check it, since it's sometimes tough to see on the copy, is to flip it over and look at it. You know, I look for little, you know, wonky bits, like if it's not quite round, that kind of thing. And I just screwed that up again. All right. The other thing I'm going to do, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to finally figure out where the side of this wheel is and where the treads, you know, kind of is, because that was the thing when I blocked this tire out altogether. This is not going to be right, but it's going to be fine for now. When I blocked out this tire, I blocked out the whole thing, but, you know, there was some issue looking at it with the way the tread was lit up. All right, I think I'm good with that. There's not much I can do with the inside of this thing. It's so dark here. So what I'm going to do is with the spokes of the wheel, I'm going to do exactly what's going on here. So the adjustment, and we'll talk about it when I get there, but I could see the spokes here. They're just in the, you know, the shade or the shadow. I'm just going to use the places where the spokes are and do the same thing with the lit up spokes, like on the front, but they'll be on the back. And then both will match and it'll look right. At least that's the plan, you know. Who knows? So we'll get this in, and then I think that's going to be we're going to make it to the end by doing this. Make sure we're focused. I know it's super shaky. Again, I keep bumping the camera because it's right here. Okay. Again, the farther along you get, the more you really have to make sure that I've got these things lined up, because, again, it just stinks if they're not. Oh, I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the license plate. I think I'm going to put a pony on it. I think that's the way to go. Oh, good news. So here's what makes me happy. So I just took the time to line that up, And if you see a bunch of stuff through the templates, like this one, I expected to see, you know, dark gray because it's how I painted it originally. But this back one, if I saw a bunch of black in here, then, you know, that wasn't lined up right originally. And then I knew I'd need to do a lot of work. But when I put this on here, it's really, really close to what's showing. Like it just looks gray, which is awesome because that means it was right the first time I put it in. So let's mix up a gray for this real quick. And yeah, we are at the 30 minute mark right now, but I'm not going to cut you guys off before I spray this. So I'll spray this and then we'll call it for this episode. I need to get some restock here too. So it'll be good timing. Come on, man. White. So that's white, a little bit of black. Where's my paintbrush? There it is. So white, a little bit of black. To get a light gray, that's not enough black. I'm gonna put more paint out on here too. Yeah, this will be good. I'll have to reset after this episode anyway. Put more paint out, get the water in the palette. Make more coffee. All right, good. Nice. Okay. So that for this, for the front part of the rim, all I'm going to do is fade it up. I don't want to do the whole thing because I've got that shadow on the front wheel, and I don't really know how to resolve it on this. I do, but I'm afraid if I do that, it's just going to have the same problems that the front wheel might have, which means it won't look round. That shadow won't look as a shadow. It'll look like, you know, the wheel's incorrect, and that boils down to a scale thing. And then I'm just going to hit that back, the tread part, because, you know, it's there. Now, I really carefully, I put a little bit on there. I didn't put a lot. So I want to put a big magnet on here to hold it. And I want to look at it before I move it. Yeah, awesome. All right, good. That's good. I said awesome because the original dark gray was misaligned. And now between the gray I just put in and then that line, the bead line that I put in before, I can see where that other one screwed up, and that's going to make things a lot easier. All right, so there we go. All right, so thank you again. Thank you. I know we ran a little bit long, but hopefully you won't mind. Thanks for jumping in. If you want to support what we do, just drop me a comment below. Hit that like button. Those are the best ways to help out around here. If you want to help in a more direct way, you can do what these lovely people have done and support by being a member here. You get some cool perks, and then also Patreon, and they get their own set of perks as well as their very own open studio that's separate from everyone else. So that's what I got. All right, so for Steve Leahy and Open Studio, thanks for hanging around with me, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Take care.